This is TokyoReal. I'm Ian Simpson. We are at the ETJ English Teachers Japan Expo in Tokyo, and sitting with me today in the studio is BJ Bulmer and Greg Crawford.
Nice to see you, Ian.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, welcome guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Maybe I can just tell the reelers out there, the viewers, a little bit about you.
Sure.
BJ, you are director of Fun Kids English. In fact, you both are. Fun
That's
Kids
right.
English
Yep.
and Fun Kids Production.
Yep. Productions.
You're also a professional musician.
We both are, yes.
Oh, you both are?
Yes.
Both are? This is making it easier for me. And you're owner of Koala English School
That's right, yes.
down in Wakayama.
Down south of Wakayama, yep.
South of Wakayama.
Yep.
And Greg, you have IDE English School. You are principal of IDE English
That's
School.
correct, yes.
Good. So you're involved in various aspects of the eikaiwa industry.
That's right.
in Japan. So let me kick it off with a question: the importance of music in learning. Because I know you're heavily involved into making music CDs and whatnot.
Yep.
So recently there's been this explosion of using music in the classroom. Talk about it. Why?
Well, we both run schools, as you said, and we've also got a small publishing group called Fun Kids English, and we publish textbooks. Music's a big part of what we do, though. For us, we originally got into it obviously because we've both been school owners for about 15 years, and we've played together. We played music together for like 25 years. So it was a logical progression for us to go from what we do with our schools into actually making music for the classroom as well. Another reason why we started making music, we started making music for the classroom a long time ago. We never got around to actually publishing it and getting all that stuff together until only a couple of years ago. But the reason why we started doing it, I think, was because there was a lack of good material out there. Right. So we originally started doing our own stuff to fill a gap and a need that there was for our own curriculums. I think why there's been such an explosion of it recently is because there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I think that songs are an incredibly useful tool in the language classroom. I think there's so much that you can do with songs in the classroom. I think that fundamentally we start from a place where I think everybody loves music and everybody loves to sing, kids in particular.
That's a good point, isn't it? Everybody loves music.
That's right.
And music is such a great tool for motivating people.
Yeah. So I think it's a positive place to start from in the classroom. You're already ahead of the game, I think. So we started writing stuff, producing stuff and publishing stuff for the classroom. And what we do at events like this is go around, and I think if you have a look around, if you've taught in a few schools in different situations, stuff like that, most teachers are expected to use music in the classroom.
Yes.
But I think having the skill to be able to use music very well and very effectively in the classroom, I think, is a very underrated skill. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot about improving that skill. I don't think it's really easy to do that really, really effectively. So when we come to these presentations, that's what we're trying to do, is basically show people how to use songs and music in the classroom more effectively.
Yeah, and I notice you guys, you do your presentation and you're jumping up and down like 21-year-olds there, you know. You've got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And I guess that sort of reflects onto the audience. And
Well, I think if you're teaching young learners, you have to be very energetic.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that kids are full of energy, so you've either got to keep up. It's like if...
And the whole thing is that I think as a teacher, getting back to the classroom situation, is that the enthusiasm and the energy that you put out in the classroom is the enthusiasm and energy that you get back from your students. The whole thing in a classroom, it works from here to there and back again. It doesn't work from here to here and back again. And I guess when we do our presentations, that's exactly what we're doing. We're basically
implementing what we used to do as a live performer. I mean, the energy you give is what the energy you get back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of teachers who just press the CD and away the music goes and sit there, and there's more to it than that. You've got to get involved in it if you want your students.
Yeah, I mean, we think about everything from the gestures to use in the songs to activities to use in the songs, and here it's just all about energy.
Yeah.
And keeping the energy up. more the point, keeping up with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've taught a lot of English as well. I'm a few years ahead of you, and I'm getting to a point where I'm thinking, geez, do I really want to be jumping up and down anymore, you know? Is it a young teacher's game? I mean, you guys are young, I know, but you know, it's like...
It's a fit person's game. Let's keep age out of it. I hope to be doing it for a few more years yet, but I think you certainly have to be fit. I mean, I actually lost 18 kilos
18 kilos?
About 5 years ago, because I just couldn't do it anymore.
I'll have to get back in the classroom.
We're going to do another episode.
But I think the other side to that coin is too, I think the short answer to that question is no, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't think that, our personal preference is we like to put a lot of energy in, be very active with what we do, and I think that for us that's how we get the best results from our classes.
Yeah.
But if we put our minds to it, I'm sure that we could design classes and ways to use songs in the classroom that you could do which was less active but just as enthralling for the kids if you put your mind to it.
Right.
That's just personally what we like to do, I think. I think it's the thing that's naturally exciting for kids and gets your kids in straight off the bat. But I think that there's definitely more than one way to skin a cat, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So for our viewers out there who might want to get into this industry and start producing music videos, are there some components that are necessary to produce a good kids video, be it sort of
video,
rhythm or chanting?
Video or song, man. Video or song.
Songs. Yeah, music. Yep. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of that, what we try to do with our music is, number one, keep it very simple.
Right.
Number two, have a very, we like to target the language that we're trying to focus on in the song. So if there's a specific language target that we're trying to focus on, that's really what we nail in on during the song. Another thing which is a big part of our music and something we've really tried to focus on with writing songs and producing songs is that we really pay a lot of attention to getting rid of any peripheral language in songs. You'll see there's a lot of songs which have a lot of language and it's really unnecessary language for what you're trying to teach.
Yeah.
And we get rid of all of that sort of stuff because
I like that, because when I'm teaching, if there's too much language, the kids, they just don't get it. If it's a set phrase that you're trying to teach them,
I think,
boom,
as Greg said, you want to keep it simple. And getting back to the original question of what do we think about? I mean, simple target language. Choose the right vocabulary for that target language. No peripheral language that's going to mess that up. Right. And as you said, keep it simple, keep it straight.
And of course, great melodies and rhythms.
Yeah.
Of course, great melodies and rhythms.
I've noticed that some CDs out there, they rehash old songs like Saints Go Marching In or Jack and Jill Go. How can they do that? Is it not copyright?
There is a lot of copyright-free or public domain.
Yeah, and you can use nursery
rhymes. Yeah. And a lot of people use those as backing music.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that comes from simply that, I mean, we are musicians.
Yeah.
And before we became teachers, we were teaching music and performing music live professionally for probably 16 years before we got into the English thing. So for us, writing original material specifically for whatever it is we're focusing on. So if it was young learners, we'll write songs for that, instead of trying to bring in stuff that people have already heard or so forth.
Yeah. So I mean, you were in a band. What kind of music were you playing? You're back in Australia. You had a rock band?
We started off in the mid '80s. So
did you have long hair?
Yes, we certainly did.
In fact, I think I've seen some pictures of you with long hair.
It's basically a hair rock and roll band.
I mean, 86, 87, 88, you can imagine what it looked like.
Well, actually, I lived in Australia in '88.
Yeah.
And I went. It was the Expo year.
Yeah.
And I lived in Brisbane, and Expo's in Brisbane. I went to Brisbane, and I watched Jimmy Barnes, the legend, Cold Chisel band. And James Taylor. And of course, I hadn't seen James Taylor for years, and suddenly he came on stage, and I said, who's that guy? He said, that's James Taylor. I said, no, James Taylor has long hair down to here. This guy was bald.
He lost his hair.
I'm sure that'll happen to all of us at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So who are your heroes musically?
I guess I'd have to put U2 at the top of the list personally.
You too.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge U2 fan.
And The Edge, of course. The Edge, he's over there.
The Edge.
Yeah,
Yep. You're endorsed by the guitar
you're
player.
endorsed by the guitar player.
TokyoReal is sponsored by The Edge.
Yes.
But not the one in U2.
Fantastic stuff. Who else do I like? An artist by the name of Daniel Lanois, who's also a very renowned producer. Ryan Adams, a whole heap of artists. I guess. How about you?
I come from a bit of a country background, so I love country music, modern sort of country music now. But when I grew up, Dire Straits, Eric Clapton, a lot of British stuff was what got me.
Mark Knopfler's great. My father spends a lot of time watching YouTube videos of Mark Knopfler and
Chet Atkins.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. Yeah. I have that album. It's called Neck and Neck. It's wonderful. Yeah. So the whole British thing, guitar playing thing, was what got me into music.
So do you have ambitions to be J-pop rock stars in Japan?
I don't. In a word, no.
Or maybe Oyachi band rock stars?
No, our ambition there is to manage some J-pop bands, I think, or put together another AKB48.
A Johnny's type company.
Right.
Yeah, good. Let me bring it back to education and could talk about that all day. You both run English schools. Okay, let's assume I've been teaching in Japan a few years. I decided, hey, I'd like to open my own English school. Yeah. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? What sort of
bad idea if you do it in my town? Yeah.
Right.
No, that's obviously a joke, but know your market is the first thing. I mean, I'm in a very small country town compared to, say, where Greg is, which is a bit larger and a lot more diverse in its population. So know your market and know who it is who you're going to be targeting.
Because what happens, a lot of us, we end up in Japan, we meet a nice Japanese lady and we end up living where she is from.
Right.
Which can have its pros and cons, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, a young person coming in, should they be looking at it purely from a business viewpoint, or well, I'll just go with whatever, I end up in this town, I'll open an English school. From a business, what's the best way to go about it business-wise?
Well, I think that it depends on the situation, obviously. It depends on the person. There's a lot of things you have to take into account. I think you've got to enjoy where you live. I think that's a very, very important thing. Should they open a school or shouldn't they open a school? I think that also depends on the person. I think what I would say to people, if you're going to open a school, save some money before you do. Be prepared to work very, very hard for very little reward initially, I think.
Definitely.
Be patient, but work very hard at it. And like BJ said, know your market, develop your marketing skills. The most important thing that I would say, I think, and the most important advice I could give to anybody that was going to open a school would be do good classes and have a good curriculum. And I think this is a point that so many people overlook. Every aspect of running a school, I think, is important. I think marketing is important. I think all the business side of it is important. But I think a lot of people tend to pay too much attention on that and overlook the fact that what you're actually marketing and what you're selling is the actual product that you have. And how you compete in the marketplace, obviously marketing and all that sort of stuff is part of that, but the product, ultimately it comes down to the product that you sell. And it doesn't really matter how good your marketing is or your business strategy or anything like that. Once people come to you, if they work out that your product is not good, you won't retain customers.
So you've got to be educationally sound.
Absolutely.
In what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Rather than sound, I would say be exceptional.
Yeah, because there's a lot of mothers out there now who know, they're very switched on. They know what they want for their kids, because they want their kids to get into the best junior high school and then the best high school.
Yeah.
And so, I agree with you. You've got to be educationally as good as you possibly can be. And in the past, I think a lot of people haven't done that. They just opened a school and say to the teacher, there's a book, get on with it, there's a CD, and those days are gone, I think.
If you want to be successful, they are.
I still think that there are some operators out there like that, but to the people who approach the business seriously, I would say that's great, because that gives you a competitive advantage.
Exactly.
If you can get in and actually deliver a really, really good product and give people very good value for the money that they spend, well, you've got it over people like that. So it's an opening in the marketplace for you, obviously.
Yes, and I think coming up, what are some of the biggest problems you have running your schools? Would you say on a day-to-day basis? What are the biggest problems you encounter? Is it people? Is it
I'd say
marketing?
My first and foremost problem is obviously language.
Right.
The fact that my Japanese speaking is quite good, my reading and writing is atrocious. So when it comes to things like marketing, designing marketing campaigns, all of that sort of stuff, I basically write everything in English and have it translated into Japanese. That's not such a problem in itself, I don't suppose, but what it is it makes the entire process takes a lot longer. One of the things I enjoy about Fun Kids English is that I can do everything in English. When I want to do it, I can do it, and it gets done, and stuff gets done a lot quicker. So that's one side of it, I guess, for me. There's a lot of things I would say, but that's one big problem.
Yeah, and I'd have to second that, because a lot of the people, my colleagues, friends who have English schools, we have probably the same frustrations in that we want to get things. We are quite aggressive in business, and the Japanese way is, well, we'll do it tomorrow, or I'll have to get it translated, or we'll have to have a meeting first, and I can't do it for another month, and we're tearing our hair out. And I think every foreigner experiences this same frustration.
Getting back to the previous question and rolling into this one, I think it's preparation. If you're going to open a school, you need to understand that that's going to be a really big barrier.
Yes.
And you should consider how you're going to
tackle that.
Get over that barrier. Whether it's you send let's say you're making a poster or a flyer and you write it all in English, as Greg has just said. Well, you're going to have to know that you'll need that translated. So where are you going to get that translated? How much is that going to get? Is it going to cost you? And just be aware of that. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, it's just a part of what we do.
But it is an important component, isn't it? We have to have staff who are Japanese, basically, because the cultures are different, and often we don't understand the culture. There's some barriers, but I have Japanese staff in my office, and they deal with a lot of that.
I think that's another very valid point, is understanding the nuances of the culture, I think, is also a very, very important thing. I think it's very, very difficult to come here and be very fresh here and to be successful in that way with marketing and things like that, because I think the nuances of the culture are so subtle and so very, very different. I think it takes a long, long time to be able to understand things in a Japanese way. And when you're writing things like marketing campaigns and stuff like that, you have to really be able to. Another point that I'd touch on would be, I think, staff is another thing that people really need to take into consideration. Getting good staff can be a problem.
Keeping good staff is a bigger problem.
And related to staff also, I think growing your school, I think is a big challenge. I know for us, for me, going from being a single teacher school and making the transition into hiring another teacher and then hiring another teacher and growing my school, that's a very, very painful interim period, and it takes a lot of money. It's very much the kind of like one step back, two steps forward kind of situation where you're going to hurt financially. It's quite a scary period. And for people who start doing that, it will have been their first experience at hiring other teachers, so they'll be relatively inexperienced at hiring teachers and stuff like that. So dealing with staff and all that kind of thing, I think.
And your teachers basically, your school is as good as your teachers. Of course, what we do as owners is vital, but if you have bad teachers, you have bad school.
I think that's very, very
so
good.
choosing your
bad
staff
teachers, you won't have a school.
No. So start choosing your staff. I don't know whether you go along with the old adage, which is hire slowly and fire quickly. I think that's an important point, because getting the right staff in place is vital, isn't it? And do you have an in-house training system for your staff?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So everyone teaches to your system and your method and your ideology, philosophy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in that situation, like I personally, for me, I don't like hiring people that are overqualified either, because I think I've had a school now for 15 years. We have a system. We've put a lot of work into developing our system. Our system works very well and is very effective. I don't really want somebody coming in who thinks, I'm open to suggestions and criticism, there's no doubt about that. But I don't want that guy that comes in and he knows everything, and do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've all had people like that, and they come with a fantastic resume, but at the end of the day, there, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you know. And it's better to get someone who's got an open mind, and you can mould them into your way.
Yes.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, and that obviously doesn't apply to everybody, but that's why hiring, I think, is such a challenging process.
Yes.
You know, people can look great on paper, but not really come home with the goods in the classroom. And the other way, probably the best teacher I've ever hired had almost no experience, and I took him on board. He was actually the first teacher I ever hired, and was able to train him up, completely mould him to be exactly what I wanted to be in the classroom. He's turned out to be a fantastic teacher. You know?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it has to do with the personality of the person, the temperament of the person, their willingness to learn. I think all of those sorts of things have a lot to do with it. And also when you're hiring in Japan, I think things like their situation, are they married, do they have a house, are they settled, what stage in life are they in, do they
Stability.
possibly have kids? Yeah, stability. I think that's a really, really important thing as well.
Because you keep changing your teachers too often, and
you want trust.
parents don't like it, do
You
they?
want trust.
They want trust. They want stability. One thing that I've noticed over the years, so the Japanese don't like change.
Yeah.
They like stability, as you're saying. So
I guess it's the devil you know is better than the devil you don't situation.
yes,
You know?
yeah. So Fun Kids English, where's that going in the future? Up, of course.
Look, we've got a lot of things that we're working on now. We've got some new books coming out in the future, some CDs. We're working very hard at the moment on our online presence with things like YouTube.
Right.
It's something we probably haven't talked about
Video,
as yet. Video and just the whole digital online revolution is really where I think everyone should be focused.
Right.
Well, that's,
so is
that's
a lot
what
of your marketing done online using?
The majority, I would say, probably, most of our marketing is done online. We have a big social media presence. We find social media to be very effective for what we do. We have a Facebook teachers group,
Right.
which is facebook.com.
Yes,
Groups.
please feel free to plug whatever you want.
Fun Kids English. We've got a Facebook page, which is Facebook Fun Kids English. We've got an online, we've got a website obviously, and on our website we put up a lot of free downloadable materials for teachers which complement our materials. So for our songs, we have free flashcards, board games, classroom posters. We've got loads and loads of stuff online at funkidsenglish.com that people can go and check out. But yeah, basically online is where a lot of it's happening for us, and I think that's the direction that we're going to keep pushing in as well. It's great for us. We also come to events like this. We do a lot of presentations throughout the year because I think it's good to have a grassroots base like this as well. But what we do, the songs that we do and the books that we do are not exclusively designed for the Japanese teaching situation. They're ESL and EFL materials, and they would work just as well in a European situation.
Native. So you have a global vision. You'd love to.
Of course,
go global. Of course, yeah. And I guess the type of products you have, as you say, they work in various.
Yeah, we already sell stuff in Europe.
Yeah.
And we're looking at obviously expanding that kind of stuff as much as we can. Spain and Italy, we sell some materials in, but we're obviously looking at expanding those sort of markets more and more.
Great, yeah. Okay, well, I mean, I hope you can come back sometime because
We'd love to.
With regard to the marketing and digging in a bit deeper, I'd love to talk to you more about it. But for the moment, I know that there's presentations around us. They're about to leave the classrooms. It's going to get noisy, so we'll wrap it up there.
Okay.
Good luck with Fun Kids English.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure chatting with you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Can I just also say that for any teachers out there that are watching this that haven't been to any ETJ events or anything like that or don't know about ETJ, I think it's a great organisation and you can learn a lot by coming and checking out these things, and it's a great thing to support. So anybody out there that hasn't been to the ETJ thing, well worthwhile checking out.
Right.
Become a member and join in. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Lots of good advice from the guys today. So take it on board. We're all trying to build a better me. That's what we're aiming to do. Please remember, TokyoReal is sponsored by The Edge Performance Analysis Solutions. Give yourself the edge.